All right, I am pleased to be joined by Noah Barnhart of the lastwordonsports.com. Don't forget to check out his column on that website. How's it going, Noah?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing great. Had some big news in the NBA recently. We'll first start off with March Madness. Some big games. Of course, the Sweet 16 is this Saturday. We'll first start with Baylor Villanova. I'm assuming Baylor's going to win this game, but what do you think the outcome will be?
Yeah, I got Baylor too. I just think they're way too good at shooting the three. And then obviously Villanova, they've honestly been like undervalued this whole tournament. Everyone's got them getting upset without their best player. I think Colin Gillespie or something like that. Him being out, that hurts them against Baylor, a team that's really disciplined and can hit the three ball. So I would take Baylor.
Yeah, I'm not supposed to be really biased, but I did pick Baylor to win my bracket, so I'm kind of hoping they win. But I'm really hoping for a good game. I think both teams are really good, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully, I think Baylor's going to get the win. Is there anything that really stands out to you in this game?
Um, Other than the star player being out for Villanova, I would say if Baylor wins this game, I think they have a clear path to the Final Four, in my opinion. And I mean, a lot of people probably have them going there as a one seed, anyways. But if Villanova does pull the upset, I would say the same thing for them. They have a pretty good path to the Final Four.
Yeah, I think if Villanova ends up beating Baylor on Saturday, they would probably at least get to the Final Four, and they might have another chance to win a national championship. Jay Wright has done a wonderful job there at Villanova. So Villanova is a very good basketball team. We all know that. First of all, Loyal Chicago taking on Oregon State, I believe the game is. We all know Loyal Chicago upset Illinois. Do you like Loyal Chicago to knock off the Beavers?
I do actually. So I had Illinois winning the whole thing. Loyola screwed that up, hit them and Sister Jean. And then I actually had Oregon State going to the Sweet 16. So that was like my one good pick in the tournament, like them upsetting, I think, Oklahoma State it was, and Cade Cunningham. So but I think their run ends there and Loyola gets there. Honestly, I could see Loyola going to the Final Four too. I think they'd be matched up with probably Houston next, unless Syracuse pulls an upset. And that's definitely a game they can win.
Yeah, you mentioned Loyal Chicago knocking off Illinois. That's a lot of people are saying Loyal Chicago shouldn't have been shouldn't have been such a low seed at number 8. They should have been at least a 5 or 4. What do you think they should have been ranked, and do you think they were ranked too low?
Yeah, probably a 5 seed. I would have them ranked because obviously they're a mid-major school, so they don't play in a big conference. But mid-major schools are getting undervalued, as we see. There's a lot of upsets getting in this tournament, like Oral Roberts as well. They're going on a Cinderella run, so this tournament's kind of wonky with the seeding and obviously having to play in a bubble and no fans. So
Speaking of Oral Roberts, I don't know if they can. It's only been a few times where a number 15 seed has actually won the opening round. And before this tournament, Oral Roberts hadn't won a conference tournament since 1974. Do you think there's a chance? Do you think there's a chance that they knock off Arkansas?
yeah, Arkansas, they like to play really fast, and so does Oral Roberts, as we saw against Ohio State, and then they knocked off Florida, I believe, as well. And I think it's like they're like one of the 9 teams that won as a 15 seed in the first round, which is crazy in history. And they do have a couple of really good players that were undervalued, so I could see Oral Roberts beating them. I think Arkansas might pull it out in the end because they just have a better overall team and more talent on their roster, but I could definitely see them knocking them off.
That would be probably the biggest Cinderella team to make it to the Final Four if Oral Roberts was to beat Arkansas and then go into the next round. I think would they beat Houston or play Houston? I think they would play Houston if Houston would beat Syracuse, but they would be. I think the lowest seed ever to make it was it George Mason? Maybe I'm not exactly sure, but I know that would be one of the biggest Cinderellas of all time. Michigan, Florida State. That seems like that's going to be a really good game. Michigan had a scare against LSU. Do you think Michigan pulls this one out, or do you think Florida State gets the upset?
I'm still banking on Michigan, but that's just because I'm a Big Ten guy, and obviously they were probably the best Big Ten team overall throughout the whole entire season, and they had a little bit of COVID issues. They're without Isaiah Livers though, so that's going to make it a little close. And Florida State, I think, blew out the last team they played, so it's definitely going to be a good game. I'm going to take Michigan though. They just have more size in my opinion, and definitely a more well balanced team. And Juwan Howard, really good coach. Impressed with him.
Speaking of Juwan Howard, do you think there's a chance he leaves Michigan and heads to the NBA?
Oh, definitely. So he was assistant coach for Miami, I think, after he was done playing. And I thought he might get an NBA job instantly from there, but that he's a Michigan alum, so he goes back to his roots there. Um, Especially if they make a deep run in this tournament and he feels satisfied for, like what he's already accomplished with the team, I could see it happening, but it might be too early for him, as I don't know how long his contract with them is at this point, but I could see him in the future definitely being the NBA and doing big things for Michigan if he doesn't.
Yeah, because I think he was on the Dan Patrick show recently, and he said he preferred, before getting the job at Michigan, he wanted to be an NBA coach rather than a college basketball coach. And I feel like he could do pretty good in the NBA, unlike John Beeline. But it's intriguing because the Pistons might actually have an opening this year, because Dwayne Casey clearly hasn't done what he was expected to do, especially what he did in Toronto. Do you think there's a chance that Juwan Howard goes to Detroit and stays in the state of Michigan?
They could. That would actually work out well for him. And obviously, he's a good players coach. He's been there, done that before, so he would definitely be able to like get together an NBA locker room and like build a winning culture. The thing with Dwayne Casey, though, I think he's a good coach, but Pistons just have little to no talent. Obviously, they have Blake Griffin and Derrick Rose, traded them both, and now their best guy is Jeremy Grant, he's going to be a star. I really think that. So if they can get a good coach, if it's not Dwayne Casey, they find another answer. I really think the Pistons can build around Grant.
Unfortunately, knowing the Pistons, I feel like they would trade Grant right before they got really good, and then they would get back to square one. But yeah, I think Juwan Howard would be a nice fit. I just don't think Dwayne Casey's going to last much longer there in Detroit. I guess he could go to Milwaukee too, because it seems like if the Bucks can't get it done, Budenholzer is probably out. But let's stay with college basketball. Houston takes on Syracuse, I believe. Who do you like in that matchup?
I'm taking Houston, but Buddy Boeheim is like a really good story for Syracuse. Coach's son, obviously, and he's just lights out from three. I think if Houston can take away the three ball and get some fast break scores on Syracuse, because Syracuse I think likes to have like get in a half court set and set up their offense, and then they'd like thrive off ball screens and getting people open on the 3-point arc. I think if they can shut that down, Houston should be fine. And plus a whole week to prepare. I'm not really counting on an upset there.
Yeah, but I think Buddy Boeheim, he was really hot on Sunday, and to be honest with you, I didn't think he was that great, but he really showed that he's a great shooter, and I'm not sure how successful he can be in the NBA, but especially if you can shoot the three in today's day, you're going to be pretty successful, especially in the next level. Oregon, let's see, Oregon UCLA, or not Oregon, sorry, Alabama UCLA. Who do you like in that matchup, and do you think there's a chance that either one of those teams make it to the Final Four?
I got Alabama. I think Alabama wins everyone pretty handily because they're a really good defensive team, and the tournament defense does, even if you don't have great offense, defense picks up for it. UCLA kind of had an easy run. I think they had BYU and another like higher seeded team. I'm not sure who they played. Let me check real quick. Who did UCLA beat? They had, let's see. They had Abilene Christian, right? That's a 14 seed. So that's for UCLA to play them in the second round. That's a pretty easy for a Pac-12 team. So I feel like they've had an easy run so far. And when they get Alabama, they're kind of get stonewalled, and Bama can win that one pretty handily. That might be like one of the games I think they could run away with.
It's kind of unfair since Alabama's so good at football, and now they have a chance to make it to the Final Four. I mean, imagine. Well, sorry, what was that?
Yeah, I know it. I'm sick of. Don't even get me on this football thing. So I'm sick of seeing Bama and Clemson in the national championship. Either them or Ohio State and Oklahoma. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's unfortunate though. If the college football playoff format stays the same, we could probably be just seeing that constantly year in year, unless all of them aren't very good in one year. Which I mean, I guess could happen because you saw how Duke and Kentucky were both trash this year, and teams like Indiana and all that. So. Let's go to another match. This is actually a Pac-12 matchup, USC and Oregon. I wouldn't be surprised if USC could get the win here. Who do you like? And is there anything that stands out to you in this game?
I'm gonna go with USC because of the Mobley brothers. Evan Mobley should be a top 3 draft pick this year, and they're a really sound team. They got a lot of size, will control the boards. And Oregon, honestly, they ran away with the game against Iowa, and that wasn't even close. So I'm real high on them. But USC, I think USC's beat them a couple of times in the regular season as well. They probably played 2 or 3 times being in the same conference. But Mobley's probably going to be the X factor in that one.
You just mentioned Iowa recently. Luka Garza seems like he's going to get College Player of the Year. There's really no question. But no one's really talked much about his NBA career. And a lot of people said he might not even be a first-round pick, and he could kind of go the way of Jalen Brunson, who plays with the Mavericks, who was at Villanova, won College Player of the Year. I think he was a two-time All-American, but he got picked in the second round. Do you think Garza has a chance to succeed in the NBA, and what team do you think would fit him the most?
I think he does. I'm not sure what team. It would be someone that just needs a shooting big. But the thing is, when you look at the NBA, people say that it's not like built for 7 footers anymore. But when you look at Jokic, he's not very athletic at all. And if a big man can learn how to pass the ball and you can run the offense through him at the top of the key or like somewhere inside the paint, that's really a good look. And Garza's lights out from three in that Oregon game, and even the game before that against Grand Canyon, he was knocking down threes. And there's room for the NBA for a 7 footer that can hit the three ball. Now, the issue is his defense. Probably he can't move laterally with his opponents, but if he can just slim down just a little bit and get a little bit faster, I genuinely think he has a spot in the NBA.
Yeah, it'd be intriguing to see how successful he is or what his NBA path takes him. I just want to stay with Iowa for just a little bit. I know you're an Iowa fan. It seems like Iowa hits a wall after they get to the second round. They get to the tournament consistently. Fran McCaffrey's done a good job of that, but it seems like they can't get past the second or third round. Do you think Iowa has outgrown Fran McCaffrey, and do you think they need to get another coach to get to that next level?
I think they probably Fran for whatever reason can't adjust in the game, and we see that sometimes. I think it's a clear sign in Oregon when they were just absolutely they were letting Garza get whatever he wanted, but anyone else they made him work for the shot. And Wieskamp was good enough to do that, but the rest of the team was not. And with a team like Iowa, when you have Garza and the focal point of the offense, you need to be able to create plays around him, and it just wasn't able to happen for Fran. And he definitely got out coached against Oregon. And then I believe he lost it to Tennessee 2 years ago. I think they played Tennessee in the round of 32, and they went down early, and they ended up coming back in that one. But it's definitely a problem when you have the best player in the nation, and he's probably going to win Naismith Player of the Year, and you can't get past the second round. That's definitely an issue.
Yeah, I think Fran McCaffrey, when he came in, he did a good job because, of course, Todd Licklider really struggled. And I think he did a very good job of making Iowa a consistent winner and going to the tournament year in, year out. But I feel like Iowa should want more now that they have gotten better. And I feel like Fran McCaffrey isn't that coach to take them to the next level. I know not a lot of people are talking about that, but I just kind of feel like Iowa can do more. I think we got one more matchup. Gonzaga seems like they're really good at. We all know that. Do you think there's any way they get beat before going to the Final Four?
Probably not. I honestly thought the best chance to happen was against Virginia. If Virginia would have been able to get past Ohio, I thought if they were able to get to the Sweet 16 and have like a week to prepare because they had COVID issues, but they're a really solid squad still. I thought if they were able to get to the Sweet 16, they would give them trouble. They've already played them and had tape on them. But now if Virginia's out and Gonzaga steamrolled their last two opponents, I don't see it happening. I think they're probably the best team in the nation, everyone's favorite. And they have like 3 or 4 guys that are just absolutely stellar and probably going to be NBA talents.
Well, I mean, it's just crazy how good Gonzaga is this year, and we always forget how good a coach Mark Few is. I mean, he's got one of the best winning percentages in college basketball. Still doesn't have that championship, but he's done such a good job, and he's had chances to leave, and he decided to stay. And I feel like he's kind of earned this championship. We'll see what happens. They definitely Jalen Suggs is good. Corey Kispert is very underrated. He's got that great Fu Manchu or whatever they call it. But I think I think that Gonzaga team is very good. I just don't know if anybody can top them, even going into the Final Four. Who do you like in the championship right now? I'm assuming it's Gonzaga and Baylor, but what's your thoughts on who do you have in the championship game?
Yeah, I have Gonzaga and Baylor because I think Houston's on the bottom of the bracket and they would have to get past Baylor. Don't see that happening. And then Gonzaga, I don't see many people beating them as well. I do think Baylor could upset Gonzaga in the championship, though, just because if they get going from 3, I believe one of their players, I forgot his name, but he hit like 10 threes in one game, which is incredible for like at the college level. If that happens, it's really hard to beat a team if they're hitting on all cylinders from the arc. So I think that could be an upset, but right now I would take Gonzaga over anyone else.
What happened to the Big Ten? It seemed like they had 9 teams or 10 teams make it, and only Michigan was able to get past the second round. What happened to the best conference in college basketball this year.
Well, I think they kind of got exposed because obviously everyone's seeing that they play well. I think they did good in their non-conference games, but for whatever reason, it didn't translate over to the tournament. So I was high on Purdue because they were doing well going into the tournament, and they took Ohio State to an overtime in the Big Ten tournament, and they ended up losing to North Texas, which is crazy. And I was trusting that their top 4 seeded teams would do well and like make big runs, but it kind of got exposed. And the Pac-12 is a team, or is the conference that's impressing everybody right now. I would say the Big 12 underperformed as well because they were probably arguably the second best conference. And Kansas got steamrolled, Oklahoma State got upset, and Baylor's kind of like their prime guy, kind of like Michigan is for the Big Ten.
Yeah, I mean, I was just so shocked, and the ACC looked pretty decent, but the Pac-12, man, 4 of the 5. I mean, we were always digging on the Pac-12. I mean, I don't know if you were, but I was, and saying how poorly the Pac-12 is in college basketball. But yet they came out clutch. 4 of their 5 teams are still in it. I know one of them is going to be at least out between because because Oregon and USC play. But I mean, that Pac-12 conference, give credit to them. 4 of the 5 teams still in it. Pac-12. They could get at least one team in or at least one team in the Final Four would be pretty amazing. Or the STP pod for short. If you want to check out more videos of the Sports Down podcast, click on the left. If you want to subscribe to the channel, click on the right.